This is the story of an all-American couple. They're the life and soul of the party. And they're living their happily ever after.
It was supposed to be the beginning of a perfectly beautiful life together.
But things are not always what they seem.
I went from seeing my child every day to not seeing my child at all.
Oh my God! Oh, call me back, please!
And not all fairy tales have happy endings.
It was a nightmare.
It was brutal. Somewhere in these precious home videos, a killer is lurking, waiting to unleash hell.
And there's the demon. Who would have known?
It's Christmas Eve in New York City's borough of Staten Island. And the extended Mapes family is celebrating in style.
Getting ready for a big feast.
The camera follows the scent of a roast turkey to the kitchen to find Christmas chef Teresa in classic 80s style tank top and perm.
Getting ready, right? For a big feast. I can't wait. We deserve it.
We were all very loud Italians and very opinionated. And we enjoyed spending every moment together.
Hi, sis.
Eagerly awaiting the feast is Teresa's 5-year-old daughter, Simonette.
Simonette was the only girl, so it was just her 2 boy cousins, and her brother.
When Simonette was born, her older brother, Little John, pronounced her name Sissy, and it kind of stuck. For Little John, Christmas with the family is as good as it gets.
Christmas was the pinnacle of our childhood. That was the time we would get to come and see Grandma and all of our family. Get to sleep in a different bed in a different house. My grandma feed us, that kind of stuff. So it was great.
For Dad, John Sr., the Mapes family home is a safe haven to enjoy downtime with the kids.
Sissy and Little John, oh, they were in heaven. They was around their cousins and playing and all the music, the gifts, the food, you name it, the whole atmosphere. They loved it. They loved it a lot.
Christmas is a rare chance for the whole family to let loose together, and no one holds back.
We always made it a party, and that party lasted for a week. The whole week we were there.
This is the first time Teresa, John, and the kids have been back to Staten Island in months. John has a job in the Air Force, and life in the military means a life on the road.
I flew everywhere. I was gone all the time. When your dog doesn't know you, when you get home, you know you got a problem.
It was kind of very hard on my children growing up in the military because that stability wasn't there.
We moved roughly every 18 months to 2 years, and that would sometimes mean one state to another. It was a little stressing because it's hard to keep and maintain friends.
Despite the regular changes, Sissy can always count on the support of her big brother.
Grandma, put it on Sissy. Look at Grandma, look at.
Wow.
Nobody was allowed to pick on my sister. They were not allowed to. I made sure if I knew it, I put a stop to it.
After the Christmas feast, a very special guest drops by.
Say hi, Santa. I told you he was coming. Santa is here.
Oh, there's Simonette. There she is.
Little chubby cheeks.
Oh, she was so excited.
Yeah.
How we enjoyed those Christmases.
Go give him a kiss, Sissy. Hurry up, darling. You ain't gonna see him for long.
I would dress up as Santa for nieces and nephews to make them believe and give them gifts on Christmas Eve. Until my nephew, Little John, is like, "You're not Santa, you're Uncle Frankie." You know.
Where was my letter this year?
Are you Uncle Frankie?
No.
You sound like Uncle Frankie.
No, shush, John. Uncle Frank stopped to learn.
You did?
Yeah.
That probably gives you a little glimpse of the pain in the butt I could have been as a kid, you know? So I didn't have a filter or a way to say, don't say that.
Thank you.
I knew it right away, and there I am ruining it for the other little kids. It's just one of those things.
This is a New York Santa. They all sound alike.
Yeah. We all have the same accent, John. Yeah.
All
right, Santa.
What's all these presents? Here's Sissy.
Oh, that's Simonette. Whoa.
Clearly, Sissy is on Santa's good list this year. Her reward? A giant unicorn.
Oh, she gave him such a hug.
She was always sweet. That's the one thing you remember about Sissy. She was a sweet kid.
I'll see you. Bye, Santa.
Can I see his reindeer to take off, Grandma?
In a minute, baby. Bye, Santa.
Teresa and John know that their frequent moves are hard on the kids, which is why, 6 months later, they're back in Staten Island, visiting family once more.
We put the pool together, got it ready just before 4th of July.
Please watch the babies if they're in the water.
Get out of the way, John. Don't hold on, John. Attack.
My brother-in-laws, we get on each other's back and then we try to knock each other off. Just a great time.
Oh, she's so little in the pool. Oh, so little, so tiny. She had no teeth.
You know,
And everybody's smoking.
Yeah.
My mom would make sure that we were all together no matter where we were or what we were doing. We would have to come in for that weekend for 4th of July.
The family caps off the day with sparklers in front of the house. And Sissy, seen here in yellow, is delighted to join in on the fun. Everyone seems to be having a good time until the grown-ups break out the heavy artillery.
When the sun goes down, the explosives came out, and we just ignited the neighborhood. The kids would go with the sparklers, and the adults would throw M80s and mortars, and we just light up the sky, and it was fun, family fun again. Christmas and 4th of July.
Amidst all the chaos, it's easy to see why the Mapes are all fired up about moving back to Staten Island. Seven years later, the dream becomes a reality.
My husband said, you know what, I think it's time that we go back home, and he put in for a transfer. My kids were thrilled to death. They could not wait to call Staten Island, New York, their home. Staten Island was, it's the only place we wanted to be.
The timing couldn't be better. Sissy and Little John settle into the local school and thrive.
Fort Hamilton was the school that they grew up in, and they loved it. They had a lot of good friends. They did it extremely well, and that was the best move we made.
By the spring of 2000, Sissy has turned into a confident young woman, and it's not long until she graduates high school with honors.
Sissy was extremely smart and did very, very well in school. But she never talked about it. She never let anyone know because she just kept it to herself. She just wasn't the type to let or gloat or brag or anything.
During the summer, Sissy takes a job helping children with special needs. It's here she discovers her calling.
She was about 19 years old, and she said, "You know what, Mom? I think I'm going to become a teacher." And knowing that my daughter picked that, I knew that she would be the best teacher in the world when it came to those children.
Sissy's life is about to change dramatically. But it won't be because of her new career. It's 2001, and Simonette Sissy Mapes is studying hard to fulfill her ambition of becoming a teacher.
When she was in college, her girlfriend decided that Sissy needed to find a boyfriend. So she introduced Sissy to Jonathan.
Sissy and Jonathan Krupe graduated from high school the same year, but never knew each other. The two quickly bond over their shared past and their dreams for the future. It's not long before Sissy Mapes has fallen in love.
Simonette came home one evening and told me that she had met a young man. His plans were to become a school teacher also. "You know, Mommy," she said, "I think you'll like him. He's a really nice guy, and and he knows what he wants to do with his life, and I think he's the one. He's the one." And I was, I smiled and basically told my daughter, "Whatever makes you happy."
As well as sharing the same passion, Jonathan and Sissy share a quirky sense of humor. Who needs to hit the clubs when you can use a Brooklyn sidewalk to bust out your best moves?
Jonathan and Simonette seemed to have the ideal relationship. They were always laughing together, always playing pranks on each other, on vacation all the time. It was hard for me, because any girlfriend that I would have would always try to compare, look at the relationship they have, right? How come we can't laugh like that?
I went from seeing my child every day to not seeing my child at all. I could tell that my daughter was very, very happy.
In the back of a limo at a friend's wedding, it's clear just how happy they are.
Seeing Jonathan and Simonette in the limo is how I seen Jonathan and Simonette all the time. I always seen them laughing and just this special couple.
After dating for 4 years, Sissy and Jonathan want to move in together. They can't yet afford a place of their own, but Sissy has a plan.
Simonette said, "Mom, what do you think about Jonathan and I moving in together? And can he move in with us?"
The Mapes have a small basement apartment, separate from the rest of the house. Sissy's hoping to claim it for her and Jonathan, but Mom and Dad are not so sure.
My husband and I agreed that the only way that Jonathan can move in is if this was going to be a permanent relationship. And that Christmas, Jonathan decided to ask Simonette to marry him.
By the summer of 2006, Jonathan and Sissy haven't saved enough for a wedding. But they do want to make their commitment to one another clear to everyone. At the Crown Palace in Staten Island, They throw a huge engagement party for their families and friends.
As everyone knows in New York, you gotta do it big. Simonette was dressed all in gold, and Jonathan dressed in his suit, and all of us were at this beautiful hall, and we had such a wonderful time that evening.
Your best man, John Reeves. Okay, as everyone heard, I'm the best man.
Little John was very happy that he could say that his sister found a good man that loves her, but to take care of her and treat her like a woman.
John's a great man, and I couldn't have picked a better person to be with my sister. I trust her. I have an opportunity to live with him. I love him. Like a brother already. And again, he's a great man, and I wish him all the best, very much. So I'd like everyone to stand up. Grab a glass, please.
Get this man a glass.
Everyone raise their glass up, please. Mr. John and Simonette, many, many years of love, happiness. That they be best friends. As long as love each other forever. And as long as they always know I'm here for them for as long as I'm breathing.
Every time you see Simonette, you would be smiling, just so happy. It was supposed to be the beginning of a perfectly beautiful life together.
Both the Kruppies and the Mapes are big families with big personalities.
It was great. It was a big party, good food, and fantastic time.
And just as if it were a wedding reception, Sissy and her father share a moment on the dance floor.
I danced with my daughter. Get this feeling through you, the tingling and the pride and the joy. It was really, really good.
Soon the party is in full swing as everyone hits the dance floor. Of course, Mom Teresa's already out there getting her groove on. Some things never change. It's the perfect celebration for a seemingly perfect couple. July 2007. 1 year after their engagement party, Jonathan Kruppe and Sissy Mapes tie the knot.
Sissy looked fantastic. She looked beautiful. So when she walked out, she got a lot of gasps from people. They, never would think they'd see Simonette, getting married. She looked great. It was amazing.
I seen the smile on my baby's face, and I seen just how happy she was and how happy she was going to be. And we knew that they were going to enjoy each other's company for the rest of their lives.
The newlyweds move into a home of their own in New Springville. Sissy is thrilled to land a job teaching social studies at Brooklyn's School for Classics. And it's clear she has a talent.
Simonette's students scored so high on the SATs, they thought Simonette cheated. They had to retest the students on a weekend with a guard there, and Simonette students excelled again. And I've never been so proud of my daughter.
Sissy's working hard and flying high. But for new husband Jonathan, it's a struggle. And after several failed attempts to secure a teaching job, he has a shocking confession to make.
Jonathan never got his fellowship, never got his degree.
Jonathan tells the family that he failed his exam. He'd been too ashamed and upset to even tell his wife.
Simonette couldn't believe that he lied to her and everything, but she really loved him, and she believed him when he said that he was sorry, and decided that she was going to give him another chance.
Jonathan tells Sissy that he still wants to complete his teaching degree. Problem is, it will cost around $25,000 to retake the course.
When it came to repaying for the degree, it caused a financial burden on Simonette and Jonathan.
But Sissy is determined to support her husband and somehow make it work. While Jonathan finishes his degree, Sissy sets up a payment plan to finance her husband's debt.
Simonette was working full-time and so was able to help make those payments to the university. So Simonette was paying for his degree.
After months and months of hard work, Jonathan finally finishes his teaching degree. And Sissy persuades her school principal to give him a shot teaching English.
Now Jonathan and Simonette are working at School for Classics. They become the most popular teachers in that high school. Their students loved them. They just adored them.
Both keen to advance their education, it comes as no surprise when they choose to enroll for their masters.
Simonette was thrilled to death that, Jonathan was able to start his master's program along with her. And it was something that they both had a dream of doing and getting accomplished.
In 2012, they move into their 5th year of married life. And things for the young couple seem to be going great. As the summer rolls around, it's time for the famous Mapes family 4th of July celebrations. But on the day, Sissy isn't feeling well.
My daughter was outside the pool, Jonathan was inside the pool, and right around 6:30 that evening, Simonette said, "Mom, I'm not feeling well. We're gonna go home." That evening, I called Simonette, and I asked her how she was doing, and she had answered the phone crying. I said, "Simonette, you're gonna have to go to the doctor and find out what's going on." And she promised me that she would. And I told her, "Okay, I'll talk to you in the morning. If you need me, just call me."
Operator 278 was emergency.
I just came home. My wife is dead. Oh my God, I think my house was robbed. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Sir,
My wife.
Sir, how long ago could this have happened?
I have no idea. I left this morning. Oh my God.
Sir, I know you're scared, but why do you say she's dead? Like, is she?
There's blood all over. Oh my God, there's a giant puddle of blood.
Okay, give me your name, sir.
My name is Jonathan Croupy. My wife is dead. My wife is dead.
In Staten Island, police urgently respond to a 911 call from Jonathan Croupy concerning his wife, Sissy.
wife is dead. My wife is dead.
Across town, Teresa receives a voicemail message from her daughter's husband, Jonathan.
Oh my God, Teresa, pick up your phone. It's an emergency. The house is robbed. Oh my God. Oh, call me back, please.
When Teresa calls back, she can't believe what's being said.
I hung up the phone and I tried to make it down the stairs. Something happened to my knees, and I can only think that it was the shock of it. I get my neighbor to drive me to my daughter's house, which is maybe 10 minutes away. We get there, and all of a sudden, all the police cars started coming.
Police on scene make their way inside the house. At the bottom of the stairs, in a pool of blood, they find Sissy's lifeless body. Outside, police confirm Teresa's worst nightmare. While detectives process the crime scene, distraught husband Jonathan is taken to the precinct.
The spouse is automatically a suspect. So the first thing they're going to want to do is question the spouse about where were you? And if you are the innocent spouse, of course you're going to cooperate with the police.
Jonathan tells investigators that he left the house earlier that day to run some errands in town. At 9 a.m., he went by the school to pick up supplies. At 10 a.m., he had his car serviced. And at around 12 p.m., he went to the hardware store. He texted Sissy throughout the morning, but never heard back.
Jonathan believed that she was probably still asleep. It was morning. He was running his errands.
The messages on Jonathan's cell phone support his story. And telephone mast analysis confirms his location at the time of his texts.
Jonathan's text messages to Simonette that day were consistent with the sequence of events of the going to school, going to get the car inspected.
With Jonathan free to leave, back at the crime scene, evidence points to Sissy's murder being the result of a burglary gone wrong. Windows and doors are found open, and the house has been ransacked.
The house was a mess. There were jewelry boxes and drawers that were open. It appeared that somebody had actually burglarized the home.
While police continue to investigate, on July 10th, family and friends gather to say farewell to Sissy Mapes.
It was just heart-wrenching. It was a nightmare to walk into that funeral home and have to see our baby girl laying in a box. Because Simonette made a difference in their lives, a lot of her students traveled 2.5 hours on a bus to get to her funeral that evening.
His mother came to Teresa and said, your daughter changed a lot of these people's lives. And I know I've never changed anybody's life like that. But my daughter did it to a lot of these kids. I can only imagine if she was able to live. What she could have done.
While the Mapes family mourns, detectives receive the medical examiner's report. It reveals that Sissy had severe bruising, suggesting she'd either fallen or been pushed down the stairs. She's also been stabbed multiple times.
Simonette was stabbed about 15 times. It was brutal.
Initial analysis suggested that this was a home invasion gone wrong. But there's something about the layout of this crime scene the detectives don't like.
If it was a home invasion, how would the invader get behind her on top of the steps? There's no ingress unless you come through a window. And this is a very high traffic area. This is not the area where, home invaders, taking a ladder out of the car, throwing it up against the window and coming in.
What's more, the brutal nature of the attack suggests this was no crime of opportunity.
Usually when you have a home invasion case, the person who's invading the home usually just want to disable the victim, get them out of the way so they can accomplish what they want to do. This, though, was a brutal, angry, when you see that many stab wounds, that's anger.
To detectives, it's clear that Sissy's murder was personal. They have no choice but to refocus their investigation on husband Jonathan.
Jonathan had given them a perfect account of every single thing that had happened that morning with respect to him. And that's what made the police think to themselves, this is pretty perfect. What's going on here? There's usually not I left the house at this time. I went to this place at this time. So that got their intuition, whatever, for lack of a better word.
In a bid to challenge his alibi, detectives collect and analyze surveillance video from the morning of Sissy's murder. Starting with the school, video confirms that Jonathan was there at 9:30 a.m. picking up supplies. Further surveillance from the garage corroborates that Jonathan dropped off his car to be serviced at 10:30 a.m. To kill time, he even crossed the road to look at sneakers in a local shop. Jonathan's alibi is being proven on camera step by step, text by text. Lastly, detectives watched video from the hardware store. Jonathan told police he was there at 12 p.m. Police pull the footage and expect to see Jonathan walk in at any time. But Jonathan is a no-show. Their suspicions rising, police order a further search on his property.
Finally, in a closet, they find a gym bag. And in the gym bag, they find a cell phone. And on the cell phone, they find a number of unrecognized phone numbers.
Detectives decide to dial the most frequent unknown number.
And that's when they discovered Miss Pumpkin.
Miss Pumpkin is a local prostitute, and Jonathan Krupe called her on the morning of his wife's murder. When he cut the cake at Sissy Mapes' engagement party, fiancé Jonathan goofed around with the knife. But in the wake of Sissy's senseless murder, no one is laughing. Police have just discovered that on the morning of his wife's slaying, he contacted a local prostitute known as Miss Pumpkin. When brought into the station for questioning, she reveals that Jonathan was with her for an hour from 12 p.m.
Miss Pumpkin confirmed for us that yes, she in fact was with him in that time frame. She had another booking and she squeezed him in.
Instead of going to the hardware store like he told police, Jonathan spent $300 cheating on his wife. Analysis on Sissy's cell phone uncovers that she had recently found out about her husband's extracurricular activities. And the deceit doesn't end there.
Right around June, Simonette receives a letter from Staten Island College saying that she had made honors and will be receiving her master's degree. So we were thrilled to death, and Simonette was waiting on Jonathan's letter. Jonathan's letter never came.
Police discovered Jonathan had never even enrolled to take his master's degree. He had hoodwinked his wife, pocketed the tuition, and was instead leading a secret double life.
He never took the class. He would drop Simonette off, and then he would go meet Ms. Pumpkin, and they would do whatever they would do. So at some point, Simonette found out that the money that he had received as a loan to go to school was not being used to go to school.
For Sissy, it was the final straw.
Jonathan had spent $50,000 on strippers and hookers the whole 4 years of their marriage. I never seen my baby cry like that ever in her life. She knows that she has to leave, and she made me promise that I wouldn't tell my husband and my son, or anyone else for that matter, that she was going to handle it.
Just days after telling her mother that she was going to confront Jonathan over his lies, Sissy was dead. Detectives dig deeper, and it's not long before they hit pay dirt.
They subpoena and get his computer records, and they find on his hard drive a number of searches, like how to clean up a crime scene, does bleach clean up DNA.
For detectives, it seals the deal. On November 13th, 2012, Jonathan Krupe is arrested. He maintains his innocence. It takes 3 years, but in June 2015, the case against Jonathan is presented to the jury.
What I think happened was that Simonette told him that his gig was up. She was just gonna uncover him, and she was gonna let everyone know what kind of a man he was.
Terrified of being exposed as a liar and a cheat, Jonathan takes matters into his own hands. Prosecutors allege that during a heated argument, Jonathan shoves Sissy down the stairs. But when the fall doesn't kill her and she starts to scream, Jonathan has no choice but to silence her. Letting loose his rage, he stabs Sissy 15 times in the back, chest, and neck before staging the scene as a home invasion. Then he makes a play of running errands, even sending his already murdered wife a series of texts. Finally, he calls Miss Pumpkin to let off some steam before returning home to play the role of the grief-stricken husband.
My wife is dead. My wife is dead.
He had sex with a prostitute after he killed my sister, right? It took every ounce of my being to not jump over the rail and go after him, for sure.
After a 5-week trial, the jury needs just 2 hours to deliver a verdict. Jonathan Krupe is found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life. It's the result Sissy's family have been praying for.
This has been long awaited, 3 years, and he got what he deserved. And my baby can rest in peace. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Jonathan has 2 faces of evil. There was a side that was hot-tempered, lazy, deceitful. And then there was this other side that was loving, caring, but the whole time with the knife in his hand.
For Sissy's family, watching old home videos of happier times is bittersweet.
Oh.
Oh, that's Simonette.
Oh, my baby.
You know, you always think that those moments will last forever. They don't.
Oh, that face. Do anything to take her off of that spoon, huh?
Yeah.
There's Simonette. Mm-hmm. And there's the demon. Ah, who would have known? The way he swung the knife.
Yeah.
Oh. If only I knew. I could have saved her.
Human beings are strange creatures. They commit the most unthinkable acts for the most nonsensical reasons. And then they expect the world to keep spinning as if nothing happened. You see this tragedy, this horror that hung over Racine County for decades. And you have to ask yourself what kind of darkness resides in a man that allows him to systematically dismantle a young life. My, you have to be kidding me if you think this was just some crime of passion. This was cold. This was calculated. This was the work of someone who had skill, patience, and far too much time. I tell you, Stephanie Casper was just a kid, an 18-year-old girl with her whole life ahead of her, trying to be independent, working a shift at a restaurant, trying to find her place in the world. She was kind, she was hardworking, and she was terrified of how her parents would react to who she chose to love. Think about that. A girl so afraid of her own family's judgment that she kept her heart a secret, only to have her life snatched away by a monster who didn't care about anything at all. When they found her, or at least the parts of her that were left, scattered in piles along the riverbank near that condemned bridge, it wasn't just a scene of a murder. It was a message of pure, unadulterated contempt. The pathologist saw the precision, the scalpel-like cuts. This was not the work of an amateur. It was methodical. And the fact that they moved her remains, scattering them across 25 miles, shows a predator who was comfortable, someone who knew these rural roads like the back of his hand. You look at the suspects, and it is a parade of human failings. You have co-workers lying about the back door, family members pointing fingers at brothers, and a father who gives an answer so cold, so callous, that it makes your skin crawl. He joked about it. Can you imagine? Your own flesh and blood is murdered, and you crack jokes with detectives. It makes me sick. You have to wonder if these people were protecting their own secrets, or if they were just so broken by the events that they lost their grip on reality. Then you have these other predators. Teenagers stabbing women, bus boys with histories of violence, men who treat children like toys to be broken and discarded. Wilbert Mackey, a man who allegedly forced his own child to help dispose of a body, all while calling himself the Root River Killer. It is enough to make you lose faith in humanity entirely. But you cannot let that happen. You keep digging. You follow the science, even when the science is 50 years old and crumbling at the edges. The fact that they're still hunting for the truth, testing old hairs, tracking down leads from podcasts and strangers, it tells you one thing. Some people do not give up. Lieutenant Van Sack, he is a man after my own heart. He is pushing against the bureaucracy, the jurisdictional nightmares, and the silence of the dead. He is trying to solve this for Stephanie, for her family, for the brother who never got to meet his aunt because a monster decided her life was worth less than the ground she walked on. We are talking about a case that has been cold for decades, yet it still burns. It ripples through generations, affecting people who were not even born when she was taken. That is the nature of evil. It does not just kill the victim. It poisons everything it touches. But I have seen it 1,000 times. The truth has a way of rising to the surface, even if it takes a lifetime. You keep looking, you keep questioning, and you never, ever stop until a monster is unmasked. That is the only justice that matters. Human beings, they are fascinating, tragic creatures. They will build a life for decades, brick by brick, only to dismantle it in a heartbeat for reasons that defy all logic. My name is Joe Kenda. I have spent my life looking into the eyes of people who thought they were smarter than the law, and I can tell you, they never are. Today, we are looking at the case of Melissa Casillas, a woman who vanished into the thin air of Taos County, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions, a shattered family, and enough contradictions to fill a morgue. My, you have to be kidding me. Let us look at the facts, if you can call them that. June 26, 2025. A day that started like any other, but ended in a void. Melissa Casillas, a woman who seemingly had her life tethered to the rigid, professional world of Los Alamos National Laboratory, simply ceased to exist. Her husband, Mark, claims they argued that morning about a vaping habit, a triviality in the grand scheme of a life. Yet that is how these things often start. Small fractures widening until the foundation gives way. Mark is a hunter, a man who claims he knows how to read the land, but he could not read the woman he lived with. Or perhaps he read her perfectly and just chose not to tell us. He tells the police she vanished. She left, she walked away. He paints a picture of a woman drowning in debt, suffocated by financial ruin, choosing to abandon her only daughter, Sierra, a girl who was already healing from the emotional wounds of tragedy that took her best friend. You have to be a special kind of cold to believe a mother would willingly leave her child in the midst of that transition. Then there are the phones. Factory reset. Wipe clean. I have seen many things in my time. But a person does not just wipe their digital existence clean on a whim. That is a deliberate act. It is the action of someone who has something to hide, or someone who is being coerced into hiding it. And then the video. Highway 518. 2:18 in the afternoon. There she is, walking with a backpack, calm, purposeful. If she was under duress, she was remarkably good at hiding it. If she was free, she was remarkably good at vanishing. You have to look at the family dynamic. The Casillas household versus the Mondragons. Two sides, two truths, and an ocean of bitterness between them. One side claiming she walked away, the other claiming she was taken. And the police? Agent Esquivel Mata seems to be running into a brick wall of silence and confusion. Leads like the mysterious man on the horse, Rick Valerio, talking about decapitated bodies. That is not just chatter. That is the kind of dark, twisted detail that usually indicates someone has seen something they shouldn't have, or their own demons are bleeding into reality. People ask me, what do I think? I think people are predictable. They lie to protect themselves. They lie to protect their pride. And sometimes they lie because the truth is too terrifying to face. Mark Casillas tells us he knows where she is, or who she is with, yet he offers no names. He offers theories. A husband who is more interested in workshopping narratives than in finding his wife is a husband who is sitting on a powder keg. And a mysterious woman from Colorado? A $50 graduation gift delivered in person? My. People do not travel 300 miles to give a stranger $50. That is a cover story, and a clumsy one at that. I tell you, the truth is always there, hiding in the details. It is in the mud on the boots that supposedly hadn't been worn. It is in the blood drop that may or may not belong to the missing woman. It is in the silence between the words. Melissa Casillas did not just evaporate. Someone or something moved her off the board. Whether she walked away into a new life or was carried into the ground, we do not know yet. But people who think they have committed the perfect disappearance always leave a thread. You just have to be patient enough to pull it, and eventually, the whole ugly tapestry will unravel. Human beings are strange creatures. They kill for the most pathetic reasons imaginable, and they think they are clever enough to hide the truth in the shadows of a small town. But shadows only last until the sun rises. And I have been watching the sunrise on crime scenes for a long, long time. My name is Joe Kenda, and I have seen the darkness that lives inside the hearts of men. You have to be kidding me. You think you can commit an act of pure evil in a place where everyone knows everyone and expect to walk away? Let me tell you, the truth has a funny way of making itself heard. The story of Brittany McGlone is a tragedy that cut short a life that was just beginning to bloom. 19 years old, working 2 jobs, saving every cent for nursing school. She was a girl with a plan, a girl with a future, but she walked into a trap she did not even see. It was the 4th of May, 2007, in Winnsboro, Texas. A day that started with the mundane routine of a young woman who had broken her pattern, and ended with a scene that would haunt anyone who saw it. You have to look at the intimacy of it. She was found in her boyfriend's bed, stripped of her dignity, bludgeoned by something heavy, cold, and cruel. No signs of forced entry. The killer walked into that house as if they belonged there, and they stayed long enough to wash the blood of an innocent girl off their own hands before walking out into the afternoon air. You see, in these cases, the circle of suspects is rarely wide. It is almost always someone who knows the floor plan, someone who knows the schedule, and someone who knows the secrets. Brittany was a girl who cared for those around her, but she was surrounded by people who were at best selfish and at worst dangerous. Her boyfriend, Jeff Stogner, claimed a trip to pick up a grandmother, but the timeline was a delicate dance that investigators had to untangle. Then there was a grandfather, a man who carried a stain of abuse that was deep enough to be a motive for murder, yet the clock and the calendar offered him a shield. But the truth, I tell you, is often buried under layers of convenience. Then there was Chad Carr, a name that did not ring any bells at first, a man who lived on the fringes of Brittany's life, a man who seemed insignificant until you started digging into the dirt of his past. People never change. 6 years before Brittany was killed, this same man attacked a woman with a jackhandle in the same town. A jackhandle. The very object that investigators suspected was a weapon used to take Brittany's life. You see the pattern? It is there, staring you in the face like a neon sign in the dark. Carr had the motive of a man who feels entitled control, a man who reacts with violence when his secrets are threatened or his desires are unmet. The tragedy of this case is not just in the loss of a beautiful young woman, but in the failure of the system to hold the guilty to account. After 15 years, in 2022, when the truth was finally knocking on the door with an arrest, the grand jury let it slip away. A no bill. You have to be kidding me. You are telling me that in a system built on evidence, the full picture did not even get the chance to be seen? It is an insult to the memory of the dead. Brittany was 19. She deserved to be a nurse. She deserved to grow old. Instead, she became a memory, a name on a file, and a question that keeps her family awake at night. I have spent my life staring into the abyss of criminal minds. And if there's one thing I've learned, it is that a killer never truly stops. They just wait for the right moment, for the right victim, for the right weakness. Carr was linked to other assaults, other horrors, and yet he walked free. That is the reality of the world we live in. Sometimes, the wicked do not get their day in court, but they never escape the weight of what they have done. Every night, when the world goes quiet, they are alone with their own memories, and that is a cage from which there is no parole. Brittany is gone, but the investigation, it is never truly finished. Somewhere out there, the truth is waiting to be heard, and one day, the final piece of the puzzle will click into place. Justice may be slow, but it is relentless, and it has a very long memory. I tell you, you cannot run from your own shadow forever. Human beings are strange creatures. They perish for the most trivial reasons imaginable, and yet, the people tasked with seeking the truth often find the path of least resistance to be far more appealing than the path of justice. You have to be kidding me. I have spent a lifetime looking at the dark corners of this world. And I tell you, when you strip away the pretenses, you are left with nothing but cold, hard facts. Spencer Irwin was a 30-year-old man, a son, a soul with a heartbeat and a history, found naked in the dirt at a loading dock in Fresno in the year 2024. The authorities? They saw a body, they saw an environment, and they decided, with a lazy stroke of a pen, that was just another drug overdose. No investigation, no curiosity, just a closed door. But they were dead wrong. You see, a human life is not a statistic to be filed away under the umbrella of natural causes because you are too weary or too indifferent to conduct an autopsy. A mother knows. Kelly Irwin knew her son. She knew he struggled with alcohol. Yes, but she knew his spirit, and she knew he was not a man who would wander into a loading dock, strip himself naked, and simply fade away into the void. When the coroner's office refused a look, they were not just neglecting a procedure. They were insulting the very concept of accountability. They told her it was natural, a sudden cardiac event, but they had no autopsy to back it up, only assumptions built on the shifting sand of their own prejudice. It is a pathetic sight to see a badge and a title used to silence the truth rather than to uncover it. Then you have the characters in the periphery, this Angel Gonzalez, a man whose presence in Spencer's life feels like a shadow that refuses to be measured. You have the white Kia Soul, an image on a grainy screen that screams of something hidden, something deliberate. And you have the witnesses, the ones who saw the mark on his neck, the line that suggests something far more sinister than a cardiac arrest. A forensic pathologist looks at those photos and sees the truth that the local police refuse to acknowledge, that without a thorough examination, you are not solving a case, you are merely burying it. The apathy is what chills me, to treat a human being like a piece of refuse to be cleared away from. A loading dock is an affront to every investigator who ever took an oath to protect the truth. Spencer was a man who tried to help others, who reached out to those living on the streets, trying to pull them toward the light. He understood the value of a single human life. It is the height of tragedy that the men and women who were supposed to represent justice fail to see that same value in him. They focus on his past, his struggles, his weaknesses, as if those things made his death inevitable rather than suspicious. I have walked into many rooms where the air is heavy with the scent of secrets, and I can tell you, the truth always leaves a footprint. You just have to be willing to look down and see it. Spencer Irwin deserved better. He deserved a proper investigation, not a dismissive shrug from someone who preferred their own comfort to the weight of the facts. In the end, we are all that remains of the lives we touched, and it is the duty of the law to ensure that the final chapter of a man's life is not written in ink spilled by incompetence. My. You see, the thing about human beings is that they are such fragile, pathetic creatures. They walk around thinking they are the masters of their own destiny, only to crumble into pieces the moment someone shines a bright light on the dark corners of their secrets. I have seen it all in my 39 years in homicide. I have looked into the eyes of men who have committed the most unspeakable acts, and you know what I saw? Fear, not the fear of God. Mind you, they do not care about that. It is the fear of being found out. It is the fear of having their carefully constructed web of lies torn apart by a single, inconvenient truth. I tell you, you have to be kidding me with a story like this. We're talking about young Christopher Cole Thomas, a young man, barely 22, a kid with his whole life ahead of him, who finds himself in a situation that he was never equipped to handle. He was a student, a bright mind, a kid who wanted to go into medicine, and here he is, caught in the middle of a drug deal gone sideways in a town he probably could not even find on a map before that fateful night. It is a tragedy of errors, born from the arrogance of those who think they are smarter than the law. Let us look at these individuals involved. Julian Valles Jr. and Jeremy Carpenter. They claim their friend just panicked and ran off into the night. It is the oldest story in the book, is it not? The mysterious disappearance. But the truth, as it often does, has a way of revealing itself in the most painful, tedious ways. When people are telling the truth, Their stories remain consistent. When they are lying, they have to constantly adjust their narrative to account for the holes they keep digging for themselves. They were not just lost in a small town. They were lost in a labyrinth of their own creation. Consider the psychology of these men. They were terrified, not for Cole, but for themselves. Every word they uttered to the police was a calculated effort to preserve their own safety, to keep the spotlight off the dark business they were conducting. And poor Cole, he was caught in the middle. He was the driver, the one who was supposed to just get them from point A to point B. But I suspect he was smarter than they gave him credit for. When you're sitting in a car in the dark with people who are discussing illicit business, you start to pick up on things. You start to realize that you are not just a passenger anymore. You are a liability. That paranoia they talked about, that was not mental illness. That was a biological alarm bell of a young man who suddenly understood that he was in grave danger. And then there's the family, Chris and Kathy, the parents. This is the part that breaks my heart, the part that keeps you up at night. They had to become their own investigators because the world was moving too slowly. They had to confront the reality that their son was not just missing, he was erased. They had to deal with the agony of not knowing, of searching ditches and fields, of clinging to the hope that their boy might still be out there. It is a special kind of hell, and I have sat with many parents who have had to walk that path. It is a silence that screams. The investigation. It is a masterclass in how pieces of a puzzle are forced together when people refuse to speak. The surveillance footage, the cell phone data, the digital breadcrumbs that they left behind like a trail of incompetence. You have individuals like Rudolfo De Leon Jr. and Anthony James Jr., all tangled up in this web. They think they are clever. They think that by staying quiet, by offering up scraps of information that lead nowhere, they are winning. But they are not winning. They are just prolonging the inevitable. You look at the way they treated Cole's phone. They had it. They were holding on to it, perhaps even trying to break into it, like it was some kind of treasure chest. It shows you the level of desperation and stupidity we are dealing with here. They were not trying to help. They were trying to scrub the evidence of their own existence from the record. And then there is the matter of the truth. Someone knows. Someone knows exactly where Christopher Cole Thomas is. They carry that weight every single day. They wake up in the morning, they look in the mirror, and they know that is a prison far worse than any jail cell, and I have seen it break even the hardest of men. They think they are holding on to a secret, but in reality, that secret is holding on to them. It is a sad, messy, and entirely preventable situation. It is a classic tale of greed and cowardice. People think they can play at being criminals without consequences. But the universe has a way of balancing the books. The investigation continues, and for the family, the wait continues. And me? I have seen this movie before. The truth always comes out. It might take a month, a year, or a decade, but it always crawls out of shadows. And when it does, those who try to bury it will find that there is nowhere left to hide. My, what a waste of a life. And for what? A few bags of poison, and a desperate attempt to cover their own tracks. It is a pathetic end to a story that should have been about a young man's future, not his disappearance. The single thing I honestly miss the absolute most about Steve is his highly infectious, booming laughter. They add in his magical, unparalleled ability to instantly light up even the darkest room. Though his life ended in an unimaginably dark way, the light of his incredible spirit refuses to be extinguished by the greed of one person. The family proudly carries forward his beautiful legacy of giving, ensuring that the young men he mentored continue to thrive and succeed in their chosen businesses. They remember the deep, pure love he had for his rescue dogs, the unbridled joy he found in simple outdoor gardens, and the boundless devotion he poured into his beloved sister and the wider family. As they gather together by the peaceful waters of the beautiful lake, they remind each other of profound, painful, yet ultimately inspiring truth. They look out over the water and say softly, Stephen was tragically stolen from absolutely everyone who deeply loved him. They repeat it to ensure his memory is honored perfectly. Steve was undeniably stolen from everyone who loved him. Yet, they know in their hearts that while a malicious act took his physical presence away, absolutely nothing can ever steal the immense love, the endless laughter, and the profoundly positive impact he left permanently etched upon the beautiful world he loved so much. And in that enduring love, his brilliant, generous spirit continues to live on, forever shining bright. This is the story of a highly successful and profoundly generous businessman, a man who would always enter a room with a booming, joyful greeting. Hello, hello, hello. And this is also the beautiful story of the momentous time when this man met a dedicated nurse with a heart as vast and giving as his own. Upon their first meeting, she struck him as being very quiet, but incredibly sweet and genuinely nice. He fell head over heels, diving into a love so deep that he simply could not hide the feelings he held for her. He was very much in love with her. And when a sudden health crisis threatened to shadow their marriage, instead of tragedy, their unbreakable bond proved that true love and devoted care could conquer any storm. Our story begins by stepping back to the 10th of March, 2007, under the warm, radiant sun of Miami. It was a monumental day for the lovely bride, Rosemary Clayton, known affectionately to her family as Rosie. She was finally marrying the great love of her life, William Leslie. The air was thick with joy, but it was also a day tinged with deep sentiment. Leading Rosie down the flower-strewn aisle was her oldest brother, 52-year-old Steve Clayton. He walked with immense pride, his eyes shining with profound affection for his little sister. 11 months prior to the wedding, their family had suffered tremendous loss when their beloved father passed away. In that moment of sorrow, Rosie had asked her brother if he would step in. She later recalled that, of course, there were a lot of tears shed, but she could not imagine anybody else standing in place for her dad, serving as her protector on the most important day of her life. When the minister formally asked, "Who gives this woman to be married to this man?" Steve answered with unwavering strength and love, "I do, in the memory of our father." It was a deeply sentimental moment to be gathered at something so special, a place where their father was not physically present, yet his guiding spirit was felt by everyone. With their father's passing, Steve had naturally become the head of the Clayton family. Even though he had never had children of his own, he had always been a steadfast father figure to his younger siblings. The 10-year age gap between Steve and Rosie only strengthened this protective dynamic. When their mother and father were married, Steve was just about 2 or 3 years old. He grew up alongside four younger sisters, and Rosie was the absolute youngest. Therefore, there really was not a single moment in her life when Steve was not present. To Rosie, Steve was not just her big brother. He was her absolute hero. He embodied everything a little girl would ever want in a big brother. During his high school years, he played football fiercely and wrestled with great strength. Those athletic feats made him larger than life in the eyes of his youngest sister. Following his graduation from high school, Steve advanced to college, eventually earning a degree in finance. He quickly matured into a remarkably shrewd and visionary businessman. Along with a trusted partner, Steve founded a company called Physical Therapy Resources. Through sheer determination and sharp business acumen, that small venture eventually blossomed into a massive national corporation, boasting physical therapy centers located all over the country. Steve and Rosie were not merely siblings. They were close friends who even worked together. They met at work within the same hospital, sharing professional challenges and personal triumphs. As his business expanded, Steve became very successful. Eventually, having secured a wonderful life for himself and his family, he sold his interest in the business. His ultimate goal had always been to retire at the age of 40. Although he missed that target by a single year, retiring when he was 41, he achieved a level of freedom that most people only dream about. Selling his enterprise freed Steve up to do absolutely whatever his heart desired. And what he desired to do more than anything else was to give back to the community. He took on the role of a dedicated mentor, guiding a remarkably large group of young men. He spent countless hours helping them start their own businesses or simply sitting down to help them find out what direction they wanted their lives to take. Steve was extremely generous, sharing not only his vast financial resources, but also his most precious commodity, his time. Above all, Steve always made ample time for his beloved family. During family gatherings, Rosie would often film Steve as he playfully teased their Uncle Max. Rosie always noted that their father had been a more serious, contemplative man, but Steve brought endless laughter. When Uncle Max would jokingly ask, "Where did that money come from, Steve?" Steve would throw his head back, laugh heartily, and reply, "I do not know." When his sister Rosie got married, it was Steve's magnificent good humor that truly made him the life and soul of the occasion. When the call came out over the microphone, "Please get up, Steve," he was, as always, the first person to stand up to give a heartfelt toast. His speeches were never strictly planned. They were always ad-libbed, flowing directly from his generous heart. Starting with his signature, "Hello, hello, hello," he playfully warned the guests, "This is my way of getting away from the emotional stuff." He looked directly at the groom and said, "William, thank you so much. I am not going to look at you because I will cry. Thank you so much for making my sister so incredibly happy." Despite his jokes, Steve was never a man who could easily hide his emotions. His voice softened as he spoke of their late father. "My dad told me, before he passed, to take care of my sister. So today, I stand here to honor you, Rosie, and to remind you that he loved you very much." Pausing to collect himself, he added, "All right, I have to get serious here. I am cool. You two are great companions. You are great partners. And to my sister, I have never seen her happier." Following the speeches, Steve stepped up onto the dance floor for the traditional father-daughter dance with Rosie. They got ready to dance, and just before the music started, a beautiful surprise filled the room. A recording of their dearly departed father echoed softly through the speakers. "The best moment of my day was when you were climbing my knee. You would say, 'Daddy, I love you. I miss those days. I really do. Because I love you too.'" It was a moment of overwhelming emotional beauty. Steve handled every duty that day flawlessly. He was a father figure. He was the best man. He was the master of entertainment. And he was the one who kept everyone calm and laughing. He was a natural protector. Despite his immense professional success and his close network of loving family and friends, Steve's own romantic life had previously been somewhat rocky. He constantly looked for a partner who was as focused, determined, loving, and caring as he was. That was undoubtedly a tall order to fill. Now 52 years old, his family figured it would take a truly exceptional person to finally sweep him off his feet. His family knew that Steve was always searching for someone he could connect with on an intellectual, emotional, and spiritual level. 3 years after Rosie's wedding, destiny finally intervened. In late 2009, Steve decided to leave his home state of Florida, seeking a refreshing change of pace in North Carolina. He thoroughly loved being physical, taking long walks, and engaging in any activity that allowed him to be outdoors. Moving to North Carolina provided him with the perfect opportunity to immerse himself in nature. Within just a few months of settling into his new surroundings, Steve excitedly announced to his family that he had met someone incredibly special. His siblings noticed that he suddenly possessed a radiant glow that he had been missing for quite a while. Her name was Lana Walsh, 12 years his junior. She was a compassionate nurse who had grown up in the tranquil plains of Oklahoma. When the family met her, she struck them as being very quiet, but undeniably sweet and nurturing. Her quietness stood out because Steve's personality was so gigantic and boisterous. While he was a roaring fire, she was the calming breeze, a delicate wallflower who perfectly balanced his immense energy. Despite their contrasting temperaments, Steve was absolutely certain that Lana was the one. They were remarkably affectionate with each other, always seen arm in arm. Steve was always hugging her, holding her tightly and kissing her forehead, Rosie felt overjoyed for her brother. She knew that anybody he loved so deeply, she was going to embrace with open arms. It did not take long before Steve asked Lana to move in with him. After they had gotten to know each other beautifully, his convincing nature easily persuaded her to relocate to Charlotte. Together, they began building a vibrant household, welcoming some new furry additions to their family. The first dog they adopted together was Guinness, an elegant Italian greyhound. They adored the breed so much that they soon decided they wanted another one, bringing home a sweet girl named Sadie. With Lana by his side, Steve finally felt that he had found his missing piece. He always spoke of her with glowing admiration, lovingly referring to her as his Lana Sue. He could not hide the deep feelings he possessed. He was entirely devoted to her. His family felt that Steve had finally found himself well-grounded and at absolute peace. The man who had moved to North Carolina for a mere change of scenery had unexpectedly discovered a magnificent new future. Years earlier, when Steve danced with his sister at her wedding, he had quietly dreamed of finding his own special someone. 6 years after that dream, he prepared to marry the profound love of his life, the dedicated nurse, Lana Walsh. The wedding took place on a lovely day in November 2013. Many friends and relatives traveled hundreds of miles to North Carolina just to be present and celebrate that spectacular day with him. The ceremony was held right at their cozy house in Charlotte. It was a breathtakingly beautiful event. You could physically see the love beaming from both of their faces. Shortly after their wedding, the joyful couple decided to search for their forever home. They found a slice of paradise just over the border in South Carolina, situated beautifully on the serene banks of Lake Wylie. It was exactly like an image pulled directly from a pristine postcard. The gorgeous ocean blue house sat gracefully on a massive piece of waterfront property. They poured their hearts into refurbishing the house, carefully decorating the rooms with Steve's extensive collection of unique artwork and antiques. Steve was the kind of person to whom objects were very personal, serving as markers of a life well lived. He was incredibly proud of his possessions, knowing that each piece held a special story. Their relocation to the lake allowed the couple to fully indulge in their shared love of nature. If there was a fun, outdoors activity to do, Steve was always the first one there, enthusiastically leading the charge. Furthermore, their move to South Carolina meant they were now much closer to Steve's extended family. Nick, who had married Steve's niece in 2010 and officially became his nephew, spent an abundance of time with the couple. They frequently went out for wonderful dinners, attended lively concerts, and celebrated every major holiday together. Equally important, they were just a short 30-minute drive from Lana's son and her precious grandchildren. The couple never declined an opportunity for a bit of babysitting. Steve possessed a magical way with children, primarily because he had always remained a child at heart himself. He was the type of grandfather figure who would gleefully get down on the floor to play silly games and sing cheerful songs. Whenever the kids were around, there was never a dull moment inside the Clayton household. Lana often recorded videos of their antics. In one heartwarming clip, Steve hilariously attempted to teach her twin granddaughters how to do the limbo. "We will make Papa do it." Lana laughed behind the camera. Steve, holding a broomstick, instructed the little girls, "There is a stick, and I have to go under it. I have to get real low to get under the stick. This is a dance, and you have to tell me how to act it out." The twins watched curiously, though they were far more focused on eating their ice cream, causing Lana to laugh uncontrollably. Steve thoroughly enjoyed playing all varieties of games, whether it was a thoughtful round of Scrabble or an uproarious, messy children's game. In another favorite video, he played a pie-in-the-face game with the kids. "You want me to get in, do you not? You do you not?" he teased loudly. "Just spin the spinner, and then turn the handles many times. 2. Now I put my chin on the thing." He laughed loudly as the children cheered. "Spin it forward. Both hands are one." Steve was, in every sense, a giant teddy bear. The children adored playing with him, always hanging onto his arms. "What number did you get?" "3. Lana was always game to join the fun, cheering alongside them. "Oh no, it is coming. Here it comes. Cheers." 5 wonderful years into their marriage, Steve and Lana appear to be thriving in absolute marital bliss. The lake house was filled with warmth, sunshine, and the constant sounds of joy. However, life inevitably presents challenges, testing the strength of the bonds we build. In June 2018, during a particularly hot afternoon, Steve suddenly fell unexpectedly ill while tending to his beloved garden. An overwhelming wave of dizziness washed over him. He complained of severe vertigo, noting that his ears were ringing and his stomach felt terribly nauseous. Weakened and disoriented, he collapsed onto the soft grass of the yard. Lana, observing from the porch, felt her heart leap into her throat. Rushing to his side, her extensive training as a nurse immediately took over. She knew he had occasionally experienced minor bouts of vertigo before, but this was entirely different. Steve softly murmured that he felt very ill and did not understand what was happening to his usually robust body. He believed that perhaps the intense summer heat had caused severe sunstroke. "Are you okay, my love?" Lana asked, her voice steady but laced with deep concern as she gently helped him to his feet. "Yes, I am okay," he whispered, relying heavily on her strength to guide him indoors. Recognizing the signs of extreme physical exhaustion compounded by severe vertigo, Lana knew that Steve desperately needed absolute bed rest. She meticulously helped him up the stairs, tucked him into their comfortable bed, and closed the blinds to create a dark, soothing environment. Steve closed his eyes and drifted into an incredibly deep sleep. As he would later recount, the very next time he opened his eyes, 36 hours had peacefully passed. The relentless energy he had exerted throughout his life had finally demanded a pause. Hundreds of miles away, Rosie received word of her brother's sudden illness. Understandably anxious, she immediately called Lana to inquire about the mysterious ailment. It was highly unusual for a man of Steve's boundless vitality to sleep for 36 straight hours. However, hearing Lana's calm, reassuring voice over the telephone brought Rosie immense comfort. Lana explained that Steve was suffering from severe exhaustion and vertigo, but she was watching him closely, utilizing all of her medical knowledge to ensure he remained safe and hydrated. Rosie felt profoundly reassured knowing that Lana was by his side. The family trusted Lana completely. It became evident to everyone that Steve's larger-than-life energy had simply caught up with him, forcing him to accept the care he so freely gave to others. Lana barely left his bedside during those crucial days. She provided him with water, administered cool compresses to his forehead, and monitored his vitals with professional precision and wifely devotion. During his recovery, Steve's cell phone remained lost on a bed for several days. For a man who was previously tethered to his device, this accidental disconnection proved to be a magnificent blessing. It forced him to completely detach from the outside world and focus entirely on healing and appreciating the gentle presence of his wife. Just 2 weeks later, Lana's unwavering dedication yielded miraculous results. Steve awoke feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and possessed a profound new perspective on life. The illness had not broken him. Rather, it had softly reminded him of his own mortality and the irreplaceable value of the woman holding his hand. Realizing that life could change in an instant, Steve decided it was time to officially secure his family's future. He and Lana sat down together in their sunlit living room to draft a comprehensive will. There was no argument or tension. It was a beautiful process of mutual agreement. They meticulously outlined plans to ensure that their beloved dogs, Guinness and Sadie, would always be cared for, that generous donations would be made to the physical therapy charities Steve loved, and that every member of their extended family would be thoughtfully provided for. By the first week of July, Steve was entirely back to his vibrant, joyful self. To celebrate his complete recovery and to honor the precious gift of life, Steve and Lana threw a magnificent 4th of July party at the lake house. The atmosphere was incredibly magical, arguably the greatest celebration they had ever hosted. The house was beautifully adorned with festive decorations, and the air smelled of barbecue and fresh lake water. Steve, radiating health and profound happiness, moved through the crowd of family and friends, offering his trademark hugs and booming laughter. He was his normal, highly affectionate self, deeply grateful for every single guest who had come to celebrate. As the evening sky darkened and brilliant fireworks began to burst overhead, painting the water in shades of gold and crimson, a slow melody played through the outdoor speakers. Steve immediately walked over to Lana. He gently took her hand, pulled her close, and swayed with her under the illuminated sky. Their family members, including Nick, Rosie, and the grandchildren, stood nearby, smiling as they watched the couple. In that beautiful moment, holding the woman whose quiet strength and unwavering care had guided him through the darkness, Steve knew he was the wealthiest man on earth. They were completely and undeniably in love. There were no more shadows lurking around the corners of the Clayton household. As the final firework lit up the night, Steve leaned down and kissed his Lana Sue, knowing with absolute certainty that their lives together would continue to be long, happy, and filled with endless love. "Hello, hello, hello to a beautiful life," he whispered against her forehead. And for the first time, his quiet nurse laughed just as loudly as he did. This is a beautiful story about a successful, generous man and a gentle nurse with a heart just as warm as his. Their meeting was like a soothing melody, where quiet low notes blended perfectly with brilliant high notes, creating a captivating song of love. Everything began on a bright day in March of the year 2007 in a sun-drenched coastal city. It was a momentous occasion for a beautiful bride named Rosemary and her entire family. The petite young woman was finally marrying the love of her life, a wonderful man named William. Standing beside her, smiling with immense pride, was her 52-year-old eldest brother, Steve. He offered his arm to his sister, ready to escort her down the aisle. 11 months prior to the wedding day, their family had experienced a profound loss when their beloved father passed away. In the moment when she needed a sturdy pillar of support the most, the youngest sister held tightly to her brother. Tears fell, but they were tears of comfort and peace. She could not imagine anyone else standing in that sacred place, representing their father, other than Steve. When the minister asked who would give the bride away to the groom, Steve answered loudly and clearly, his voice filled with deep remembrance of their late father. It was an incredibly moving moment, as the family gathered in a sacred celebration, feeling the spiritual presence of the man who had raised them. From the day their father departed, Steve, as the eldest brother, had truly become the anchor of the family. Although he had never been a father himself, he always carried the demeanor of an exemplary father figure to his siblings. The 10-year age gap between Steve and his youngest sister only seemed to enhance the protective care he showered upon her. From the days when she was a little girl, Steve had been a true hero. He played football, joined the wrestling team in high school, possessed a towering physical presence, and carried a boundlessly generous heart. After graduating from the university with a degree in finance, Steve matured quickly and became an incredibly sharp businessman. He and a close friend co-founded a company specializing in physical therapy resources. Through sheer brilliance and unyielding effort, that small company blossomed into a national enterprise with countless wellness centers spread across the country. His success was so brilliant that Steve eventually decided to sell his shares to embrace early retirement. His initial goal was to retire at the age of 40, and he missed that mark by exactly one single year. At the age of 41, Steve officially stepped into a brand new chapter of his life, a chapter where he could do whatever brought him joy. And the thing that brought him the most joy was giving back to others. Instead of simply enjoying his vast wealth and idle luxury, Steve dedicated his time to guiding young men. He helped them launch their own businesses, navigate their futures, and discover their life purposes. Steve was exceedingly generous, not just with his financial resources, but with his precious time. And above all else, he always reserved the absolute highest priority for his family. During his sister's wedding reception, Steve's vibrant, positive energy lit up the entire banquet hall. Unlike the quiet seriousness of their late father, Steve was the center of laughter and joy. He was always the first person to stand up and deliver a speech at any gathering. His words of blessing were never pre-written on paper. They flowed effortlessly from the very bottom of his heart, deeply sincere and filled with sparkling wit. Standing before hundreds of guests, Steve joked playfully, carefully hiding his emotional tears behind a bright, wide smile. He offered his profound gratitude to his new brother-in-law for bringing such happiness to his sister. He then gently recalled their father's final wish, reminding everyone of the promise he made to always watch over his siblings. In that golden moment, every single guest recognized that behind his humorous exterior lay a heart overflowing with immense love. Following the heartfelt speeches, Steve stepped out onto the dance floor to take his father's place for the sacred father and daughter dance. As the two prepared to sway to the music, a miraculous surprise unfolded. An audio recording of their late father's voice echoed gently throughout the room. It was a recording of his most honest feelings, recounting that the happiest moments of his days were when his little girl would climb onto his lap, wrap her arms around his neck, and tell him how much she loved him. The entire room fell into a beautiful, reverent silence as emotion swelled. On that magnificent day, Steve fulfilled every possible role perfectly. He was a stand-in for their father. He was the absolute best man. He was the entertainer who helped everyone relax. And he was a gentle soul who wiped away tears and brought forth ringing laughter. However, in stark contrast to his glowing career and his tightly knit family circle, Steve's romantic journey had been rather quiet. He was constantly searching for a life partner who shared his same level of focus, determination, boundless love, and deep compassion for others. It was an exceptionally high standard to meet. Turning 52, his family truly believed that it would take a remarkably special woman to capture Steve's generous heart. He needed someone who could understand and connect with him on absolutely every level, from emotional depth to intellectual curiosity, all the way to the purest spiritual connection. 3 years later, that beautiful miracle finally appeared. In the final months of the year 2009, Steve made the decision to leave his familiar home state and travel to a new horizon, seeking a different rhythm of life in North Carolina. He had always been a man who loved physical activity, possessed a deep passion for walking, and harbored a strong desire to immerse himself in nature. Moving to this new land offered him the grand opportunity to experience the great outdoors far more often. And within just a few short months after relocating, Steve joyfully announced to his family that he had met someone truly extraordinary. His voice radiated with a brilliant, undeniable happiness, a fresh surge of life energy that his family had not heard from him in quite some time. The woman's name was Lana, a gentle and kind-hearted nurse, 12 years younger than him. In complete contrast to Steve's loud, boisterous, and outgoing nature, Lana possessed a quiet, peaceful, and incredibly sweet beauty. Her calm demeanor unintentionally became the absolute perfect missing puzzle piece for Steve's fiery personality. If Steve was a brightly burning campfire, then Lana was a cool, soothing stream that gently smoothed out any turbulence in his life. Despite their contrasting personalities, Steve believed with utter certainty that she was the exact person he had been searching for his entire life. They were constantly sharing tender gestures, arms linked in complete trust, exchanging tight, warm embraces and romantic kisses, seeing her big brother so thoroughly happy. His youngest sister and the entire extended family opened their arms wide to warmly welcome Lana. Very shortly after, Steve gently persuaded Lana to move in with him. Through his absolute sincerity and endless enthusiasm, he convinced her to build a shared home together. Their lovely house was soon filled with the joyful barking of 2 beautiful little dogs that they happily adopted together. With Lana by his side, Steve felt as though he had finally found a last essential piece to complete the masterpiece painting of his life. He affectionately called her his peaceful harbor. Their love was not loud or overly showy, but it ran incredibly deep. Steve found absolute balance and perfect peace whenever he was beside his beloved Lana. On a remarkably beautiful day in November the year 2013, a cozy, intimate wedding ceremony took place right in the garden of their home. It was a spectacular event where pure love radiated brilliantly through the smiles and shining eyes of the bride and groom. Not long after the wedding, the happy couple decided to move into a brand new house, a place they planned to cherish forever, located right on the serene banks of a poetic lake. The stunning ocean blue house sat peacefully on a vast plot of lakeside land, looking exactly like a magnificent painting lifted straight from a luxury greeting card. The husband and wife spent countless joyful hours decorating their new sanctuary with beautiful artworks and precious antiques that Steve had carefully collected over the years. Steve was a man who deeply cherished spiritual and sentimental values. Every single object in their home carried a deeply personal meaning and a distinct, unique history. Moving to the lake house also allowed them to fully satisfy their boundless love for Mother Nature whenever there was an exciting outdoor activity. Steve was invariably the very first person to join in with absolute, unbridled enthusiasm. Along with the beautiful environment, the closer geographical distance allowed them to frequently gather with their beloved grandchildren. Lana's grandchildren, in particular, constantly brought ringing laughter and vibrant energy into their spacious home. Steve always maintained an incredibly youthful soul. Despite being a highly successful retired businessman, he never hesitated to lie flat on the living room floor, pretending to be a funny monster or playing enthusiastic games of hide and seek with the little ones. Family home videos beautifully captured Steve eagerly bending backward, trying his absolute hardest to play the limbo game, ducking under a wooden stick, while Lana's joyful laughter echoed in the background alongside the curious, shining eyes of the children. These moments were the clearest, most undeniable proof of a truly happy home. He absolutely loved all types of games, from thoughtful spelling board games to the silliest, most ridiculous children's challenges. When she was beside him, Lana also became noticeably more playful, thoroughly enjoying every simple, beautiful moment of their daily life. 5 full years after their wedding day, the lives of Steve and Lana continue to flow in pure, tranquil fulfillment. However, life always presents unexpected moments to gently test the strength of love and the depth of a couple's bond. In the middle of June in the year 2018, after spending many long hours happily but exhaustingly tending to their massive garden under the intensely hot summer sun to prepare for an upcoming family gathering, Steve suddenly felt deeply dizzy. Being a man who was always overflowing with energetic vigor and who rarely ever sat completely still, he had simply pushed his physical limits too far without realizing that his body was begging for a pause. He told Lana that he was experiencing strong vertigo, that his ears were ringing, and that he felt overwhelmingly fatigued, when a wave of severe dizziness washed over him, causing him to almost collapse onto the soft green grass. Lana was instantly there, running swiftly to catch him and hold him up. With the sharp intuition of a deeply loving wife and the expert professional knowledge of a veteran nurse, Lana immediately recognized that her dear husband was suffering from severe physical exhaustion caused by intense overexertion in the heat, combined with an acute episode of vestibular disorder. She did not panic in the slightest. With absolute gentleness and endless patience, she carefully supported his weight, guiding him safely inside the cool house, and gently laid him down onto their softest, most comfortable bed. The days that followed became a continuous period of Lana staying faithfully by Steve's side. She personally prepared light, highly nutritious meals, blended fresh fruit juices rich in vitamins, and meticulously ensured that he had a completely quiet, soothing environment to fully recover. For the very first time in his long, active life, the man who had always taken care of the entire world became small and wonderfully cooperative, lying completely still so his beloved wife could nurse him back to health. When his younger sister called to check on them, she felt a wave of worry upon hearing the news that her normally robust, healthy brother was confined to his bed. But Lana's calm, deeply warm voice on the other end of the telephone line instantly melted away all of her anxieties. Lana softly reassured her sister-in-law that Steve simply needed dedicated rest. She explained that his body had been working relentlessly for decades, and this was finally the moment he truly needed to recharge his life energy. Lana's profound dedication and flawless care made the entire extended family respect and love her even more deeply than before. Just 2 short weeks later, thanks to the meticulous, devoted care given with all the boundless love of a wonderful wife, Steve had completely and entirely recovered. That brief period of illness did not weaken him. Instead, it helped him realize a profoundly beautiful and deeply human lesson about the fragility of physical health and the absolutely priceless value of a loving life partner. He truly understood that showing love was not just about working endlessly to provide for everyone else, but it was also about knowing how to protect and preserve his own well-being so that he could walk alongside his family for a very long time. To joyously celebrate his complete recovery and to offer his deepest gratitude to his absolutely wonderful wife, Steve organized a spectacular outdoor celebration on the occasion of the 4th of July. The grand party overflowed with bright, ringing laughter, sparkling lights, and the deep warmth of family and close friends. Standing proudly in the middle of the magnificent garden that they had cultivated with their own hands, Steve wrapped Lana tightly in his arms, giving her a deep, passionate kiss in front of their entire cheering family. He announced loudly and clearly to everyone present that his greatest, most valuable asset was not the massive companies he had once managed, nor was it the expensive, rare antiques inside his house. His absolute greatest treasure was his family, his friends, and most importantly, the petite, gentle woman with the magnificent power to heal, who was standing right beside him. A highly romantic melody floated softly under the glittering, star-filled night sky. The husband and wife held hands and danced together, their gentle footsteps gliding smoothly over the soft green grass. Everyone gathered around them smiled brightly, offering their purest blessings. They looked at Steve and saw a completely new source of energy, one that was deeper, calmer, and infinitely more profound. And they looked at Lana and saw the exceptionally radiant smile of a woman who was loved completely and entirely. Life at the beautiful house by the lake continued to gracefully unfold, weaving an endless, soothing love song. It was a magical place where sincere, warm hearts had found each other, choosing to love and heal one another, ensuring that every single morning they woke up was recognized as a truly magnificent, priceless gift of life. A prelude of warm hearts. This is the story of a man who spent the first half of his life building a successful empire, and the second half searching for the true meaning of love and tranquility. He was a highly successful and profoundly generous businessman. He was the kind of person who always announced his arrival with a loud, cheerful greeting, bringing the radiant energy of the sun into any room he entered. And then destiny arranged for him to cross paths with a nurse whose heart was as vast, forgiving, and benevolent as his own. She entered his life like a gentle, quiet melody, sweet and incredibly kind. The man fell head over heels, descending into a love so deep that he could not, and absolutely would not, hide any of his feelings for her. Their romance was a beautiful symphony, soaring and harmonious, until an unexpected health crisis descended upon them. This sudden sickness consumed their daily lives and tested the strength of their marriage, only for them to discover that true, unwavering love is the greatest shield against the storms of life. Chapter 1. A Wedding Under the Sun. It was the 10th of March, 2007, in the sun-drenched, breezy coastal city of Miami. It was a momentous day, not only for the beautiful bride, Rosemary, but for her entire family. She had waited a very long time for this exact moment, the moment she would finally take the hand of the man she loved, William, and step into a brand new chapter of her life. Standing proudly beside the bride was her oldest brother, Steve, who was 52 years old. He stood tall and dignified, offering his strong arm to his younger sister, guiding her step by step down an aisle covered in fresh blossoms. 11 months prior to this joyous wedding day, Their family had suffered an immeasurable loss when their beloved father passed away, left without her greatest emotional pillar. The bride had tearfully requested that her oldest brother step in and fulfill this sacred duty in their father's place. Naturally, there were many tears shed. They were tears born from profound mixture of absolute happiness and deep, aching nostalgia. The bride could not imagine anyone else on this earth standing in the place of her father, except for her big brother. When the officiant's warm, resonant voice broke the quiet atmosphere, asking who gives this woman to be married to this man, the bride's brother took a deep breath. He answered with a voice full of pride and solemnity. He declared that he did so in the cherished memory of their departed father. In that exact moment, time seemed to stand still. It was deeply sentimental to be gathered for an occasion so wonderfully special, knowing that even though their respected father was not present in the physical sense, his spirit and his boundless love still enveloped his beloved children. With their father's passing, Steve had naturally become the head of the household, serving as a sturdy foundation for the entire family. Even though he had never married and did not have children of his own at that time, he had always acted as a father figure to his siblings. When their parents were first married, Steve was only a toddler of 2 or 3 years old. As he grew up, he opened his arms to welcome for younger sisters, and the bride of the day was the very youngest of them all. The 10-year age gap between them had never been a barrier. Instead, it created an absolute sense of protection. There was never a single moment in the young girl's life where her great older brother was absent. He was her big brother, and he was undeniably her hero. He embodied everything a little girl could possibly dream of having in an older sibling. During his high school years, he played football and wrestled on the school team, possessing a robust physique and an invincible warrior spirit. Those glorious images turned him into a larger-than-life figure, an impenetrable fortress that shielded his little sister from any incoming waves of hardship. After graduating from high school, this magnificent brother pursued higher education, entering the university and successfully earning a bachelor degree in finance. Using his sharp intellect and ironclad determination, he quickly matured, transforming into an incredibly astute and talented businessman. Alongside a like-minded partner, he founded a company named Physical Therapy Resources. Starting from a modest beginning, through relentless effort, that company expanded into a national corporation, boasting a massive chain of physical therapy centers across the entire country. Reaching the absolute pinnacle of his career, Steve decided to sell his shares in the business, an act that rewarded him with substantial wealth. From that point onward, he officially stepped back, entering an early retirement to fully enjoy the fruits of his labor. His lifelong goal had been to retire by the age of 40. Even though he missed that ambitious target by a single year, he was still tremendously satisfied to officially leave the corporate battlefield behind at the age of 41. Selling the business he had poured his heart into completely freed him from dense schedules, stressful meetings, and dry financial reports. He now possessed the most valuable commodities on earth: time and the absolute freedom to do whatever his heart desired. What he desired most of all was to give back, to contribute, and to repay the universe for his good fortune. He devoted a massive portion of his free time to becoming a mentor, a wise guide for a very large group of young men. He shared his vast experience, helping them launch their own startups, building the foundations of their first companies, or simply engaging in deep, meaningful conversations to help them figure out the direction they wanted their lives to take in the future. He was exceptionally generous, offering not only his financial resources, but also dedicating his precious time and mental energy. Most importantly, he never, not for a single second, refused to make time for his loving family. Chapter 2: The Soul of the Celebration. Returning to the vibrant atmosphere of the wedding reception, the youngest sister joyfully held a video camera, recording scenes of her big brother teasing their respected Uncle Max. Those were priceless pieces of footage. While their father was alive, he was not known for being an overly humorous man. He carried a serious, calm, and sometimes intensely strict demeanor, Steve, however, carried an entirely opposite energy. He always knew exactly how to break a silent room with his charming jokes. When his youngest sister tied the knot, it was his humor, his charm, and his incredibly warm personality that made him the life and the radiant heart of the entire celebration. Everyone clapped in unison, calling his name, demanding that he stand up and deliver a speech. As always, he was the very first person ready to stand, raising a glass of shimmering wine to send the best wishes at any gathering. He began with his signature, echoing greeting of hello, 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 bringing a brilliant smile that illuminated the entire hall. His speeches were rarely prepared in advance on dry pieces of paper. Instead, they flowed naturally, spontaneously, and sincerely from the very bottom of his heart. He joked that making humorous remarks was his personal strategy for avoiding overly emotional moments, as his heart was actually quite tender when it came to his family. He turned a deeply affectionate gaze toward his new brother-in-law, William. His voice began to lower, filled with profound sincerity. He expressed his deepest gratitude to the man who had brought boundless happiness to his sister, never one to hide his emotions. He tearfully recalled the final words of their late father before he passed away. That sacred instruction was to take care of his sister, to protect her, and to bring honor to her name. He affirmed to every single person in the room just how much their father had loved his youngest daughter. He took a deep breath, tried to regain his serious composure, but then he burst into a bright laugh. He looked at the young couple, his eyes sparkling with absolute joy. He praised them for being wonderful companions, the most perfect partners for each other on a long journey called life. He confidently stated that in all his decades of life, he had never seen his little sister looking so happy and radiant. Following the emotional toast, gentle music began to play. Steve stepped gracefully to the center of the dance floor, preparing for the traditional dance between a father and a daughter, a role he was now fulfilling. The brother and sister held hands, ready to take the first steps. But just before the main melody truly began, an overwhelming surprise unfolded. A deeply powerful and emotional moment blanketed the entire space. It was a carefully preserved audio recording of their dearly departed father, playing out loud to the absolute astonishment of every guest. The warm, familiar voice echoed to the quiet room, recounting the most beautiful memory of the father's life. It was a memory of his little girl climbing onto his knee, wrapping her arms around his neck, and whispering innocent words of love. The confession from the tape about how much he missed those peaceful days, and about the boundless love he held for his daughter, caused uncontrollable tears to fall on every face in the room. On that day, the eldest brother carried countless responsibilities on his broad shoulders. He was a stand-in for their father, the best man, and the prime entertainment for all the guests. He was the anchor that helped everyone remain calm amidst overflowing emotions, and he was the one who made them laugh uproariously with his natural charm. He was born to shine in those roles. Despite being highly successful in his career, possessing a vast network of friends and associates, and belonging to a tightly knit family, his romantic life had not always been paved with roses. He was a refined man who constantly sought a partner who shared his visions, someone who possessed focus and determination, while also holding a heart overflowing with love and delicate care, just like his own. That was truly a very high standard, a massive challenge when searching for a perfect other half. Entering his 52nd year, his family quietly hoped and believed that it would take a tremendously special woman to conquer his heart, to make him willingly halt his adventures and build a true home. Everyone understood that he was always looking for someone who could connect with him on every possible level, from emotional depth and intellectual sharpness to spiritual harmony. And then a miracle truly manifested. 3 years after his sister's wedding, the most wonderful magic of his life arrived as naturally and quietly as a cool breeze sweeping across a sunlit meadow. Chapter 3. The Quiet Melody. In the late months of 2009, Steve made a monumental decision. He packed his belongings, leaving his noisy, sun-drenched home state of Florida to seek a new rhythm of life, a more peaceful and quiet living space in the cooler northern lands of North Carolina. As a man who loved physical activity, he cherished the freedom of hiking, adored breathing in the crisp air, and especially valued any activity connected to the great outdoors. This change of scenery opened up countless opportunities for him to immerse himself in nature, to enjoy the relaxing moments that the bustling city could never provide. Just a few short months after moving to this new land, he radiantly announced a wonderful piece of news to his entire family. He had met someone incredibly special. His voice over the telephone overflowed with sheer excitement. His face, though unseen to the receiver, undoubtedly glowed with a warm, brilliant light that his family had not witnessed in a very long time. The deep emptiness in his soul seemed completely filled. The woman who captured the heart of the talented businessman was a gentle nurse named Lana Walsh. She was exactly 12 years younger than him, born and raised in the peaceful, breezy countryside of Oklahoma. In the eyes of his family, the first impression of her was an absolutely melting sweetness. She spoke very little, displaying an astonishing level of tranquility. However, hidden deep beneath that silence was a rare thoughtfulness, care, and pure kindness. Her quiet nature contrasted beautifully and strikingly when placed next to his loud, boisterous personality. If his character was like a massive volcano erupting with boundless energy, covering every space, then she was like a delicate wildflower, humble yet emitting a soft, gentle fragrance, quietly blossoming in a peaceful corner. Despite their obvious differences in personality and aura, Steve held a fierce, unshakable belief that she was the final, most perfect missing piece that the heavens had gifted to his life. When they were together, it felt as natural as breathing. They constantly exchanged the most affectionate, sweet gestures. They were always arm in arm, inseparable. He never hesitated to show his affection in public. He would always pull her into an embrace, tightly hold her small shoulders, and give her passionate kisses. Seeing her brother completely immersed in happiness, his youngest sister could not hide her overwhelming joy. She knew that any woman chosen and genuinely loved by her brother would be welcomed with open arms and treated as blood family. Their love progressed swiftly and as naturally as the turning of the seasons. It was not long before he sincerely invited her to move in and share a roof. After a substantial period of deep mutual understanding, he used all his warmth, sincerity, and the persuasive skills of a master businessman to ask her to help build a home in the bustling new city of Charlotte. With all the love and trust she held for this strong man, she happily agreed. Their shared home was quickly filled with very special new members, bringing ringing laughter every single day. The first four-legged family member they welcomed was an elegant Italian greyhound named Guinness. Their intense love for this smart and loyal breed urged them to bring home a second member, a beautiful and incredibly sweet little female dog named Sadie. With Lana by his side, Steve felt as though he found a sturdy anchor for his constantly moving life. He never stopped giving her soaring compliments and using the most beautiful words when mentioning her to his friends and family. He affectionately called her by a sweet, intimate nickname, his Lana Sue. He could not, and never wanted to, hide the passionate, deep love his heart completely reserved for this quiet woman. His love was a brightly burning fire, warming the souls of them both. His family clearly noticed the positive changes since she appeared. He became calmer and more profoundly grounded. It felt as though he had found a haven of peace, an absolute stillness in his soul after years of drifting on the stormy seas of business. The businessman who decided to leave his noisy hometown for a change had truly found a brilliant future, a fulfilling happiness far beyond his wildest imagination. 6 years passed since the day he guided his sister through the father and daughter dance. The exact moment he silently wished for a special someone of his very own. Now, that dream had crystallized into reality. He was preparing to walk down the aisle to marry the greatest, deepest love of his entire life. Chapter 4. The House by the Lake Filled with Laughter. It was a completely gorgeous day, a brilliant and romantic day in November of the year 2013. The sky was crystal clear without a single cloud, and a light breeze blew gently, carrying the sweet scent of late autumn. A massive number of relatives and friends from all over the country gathered in this beautiful land, traveling long distances just to be present, to share the joy, and to witness the sacred, happy moment of the couple. Steve had poured his heart and soul into making that day a perfect. Their wedding was held in a cozy, familiar space right inside their own home. It was not a lavish, ostentatious ceremony, but a beautifully elegant and emotionally overwhelming event. Their love did not need to be proven by empty words. It was clearly present in every exchanged glance, every radiant smile, and every tight handhold. That love shone brightly, dazzlingly, wrapping around everything in its presence. Right after the wedding, the newlyweds decided to take a new step, searching for a permanent sanctuary, a place where they would grow old together. They moved to a stunning house situated just across the state border, resting peacefully on the shores of the calm, blue waters of Lake Wylie in South Carolina. The scenery there was as beautiful as a watercolor painting clipped from the most expensive postcards. The house boasted a deep ocean blue hue. The husband and wife eagerly began remodeling and decorating their new nest. Every little corner of the house carried their deep personal touch. Steve meticulously arranged and displayed a collection of priceless artworks and exquisite antiques that he had painstakingly gathered over many years. Moving to live surrounded by vast nature created the perfect condition for the couple to satisfy their endless passion for the fresh outdoors. Whenever there was a fun, exploratory outdoor activity, Steve was always the very first person to enthusiastically sign up. This change in living space also brought another priceless joy. It closed the geographical distance between them and their beloved extended family. A nephew by marriage, who had joined the family in 2010, was exceptionally excited about this move. Furthermore, their new home was only a short 30-minute drive from the house of Lana's son and her beloved grandchildren. Naturally, the couple never and would never know the meaning of the word no whenever they were asked to babysit those adorable children. Precious home videos captured the moment Steve tried to bend his large body, clumsily but adorably demonstrating the limbo dance, while two twin granddaughters watched with wide eyes. Nevertheless, Steve never grew discouraged. He was passionate about every type of game on Earth, from word puzzles requiring a sharp mind to the silliest, most ridiculous children's toys. And Lana, a woman generally known for a quiet and serious exterior, was also always ready to push aside her shyness to join in on her husband's hilarious antics. The combination of a passionate, humorous husband and a gentle, forgiving wife created a portrait of a perfect family, overflowed with love and brilliant light. Chapter 5. The Summer Storm. 5 peaceful years drifted by since the day they officially exchanged their vows. The married life of the couple remained as brilliantly elevated as the very first days. They savored every simple moment, from quiet mornings sipping bitter coffee while watching the fog roll over the lake, to late afternoons holding hands while walking beneath the canopies of ancient trees. However, life is a continuously flowing river, always holding unexpected turns and